In this episode, what about our summer weddings so far? Part 1. Hi there, bridal couples to be.
Welcome to How to Get Married in Holland.
The ultimate wedding podcast of and about the Netherlands.
We, wedding ceremony experts, aka celebrants Daphne and Jasperien, share all ins and outs of getting married in our flat and fabulous country.
Enjoy listening.
Yes, it's been a very busy season so far. We've had lots of weddings and still many weddings to come, but we thought it would be nice to share with our listeners what we've been up to during the summer months, apart from our holiday, of course, and share some inspirational tips that could help our listeners to create their own unforgettable wedding. That was the idea, right?
Indeed. So, each wedding is different, each couple is different and unique. And each has their own style and wedding wishes, of course. So Jasperien, do tell what about the last few weddings you've conducted.
Okay, so the last weddings I did in June and July. Let's start with the fact that I was very lucky. We did an episode about the weather, of course. There are two episodes about the weather a long time ago, weather in the Netherlands and how unpredictable it can be. And fortunately, my June and July weddings were all fabulous weather. It was we were very lucky, very lucky. Even so. That I had a wonderful Brazilian Dutch couple, or he was half Brazilian, half Dutch, and she was Dutch, and there was lots of family from Brazil, and it was a lovely sunny day. It was, the traditional Dutch hot day, humid, which I thought, well, that's good because the Brazilian guests, they come from a humid, hot country as well, so they must be very happy. There was one thing, and they actually were. It was a fabulous. It was a lively crowd. They shared lots of lovely stories with me. But there was one thing that was for me was a learning. Well, again, an important thing, also for couples to think of when you get married in summer and when the day is hot. Please make sure that there is shade for your guests, especially for the older guests, because it was on a lovely estate in a park-like garden. It was outside, and the chairs were like, the typical rows in 2 blocks with an aisle in the middle. It was beautiful, beautiful old trees. So a lovely, lovely setting, but it was just so hot. And then in the end, actually, when I got there, they had just decided that they were going to put some large parasols there, which I also said, listen, are your because there were a few grandparents there, and I said, are they going to be able to sit in the shade because it was really hot? So eventually they did put up the parasols, which was very important. To make the grandparents, especially the grandparents, comfortable. They were sitting in the shade. So that is one thing. And the other consequence of that was because they put parasols there, they were in the way of the photographer. It changed the image. Yes. So, of course, she was a great photographer, very professional, and she absolutely knew her way around it. But it does change the perspective of the pictures, the atmosphere of the pictures, because there are always like parasols hanging in the middle. So those were really two things that I thought, okay, things to take with you in your planning. But it was really nice. Everyone enjoyed it. It was, as I said, it was vibrant. It was a lively crowd. It was brilliant. And that
I had the same experience. It was in the middle of a, how do you call it, a weiland,
just a field,
across field, a
a
meadow,
meadow. Yeah,
and it was really really hot. It was like 35 degrees
yeah,
or so,
yeah,
which
yeah,
is
yeah,
pretty hot for the
yeah, yeah,
Netherlands.
yeah.
Um, but my bridal couple decided against
Oh,
parasols
yeah.
because they wouldn't want they didn't want to ruin the
The
image.
image, yes.
Yeah, but I saw people checking out during the
Yeah,
ceremony,
yeah,
and they were enjoying the story, of
yeah. Of
course,
course.
but their condition, their
Yeah,
physical
yeah,
condition,
yeah,
was overruling
yeah,
their sense of joy
yeah,
within the
yeah,
moment.
yeah,
And also for the bridal couple itself, the groom was wearing a three-piece suit,
yeah.
and sweat was dripping on his face, and the bride had to,
Oh
you
God.
know,
Yeah,
dab
pat.
her
Yeah,
face,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
her makeup was ruined.
Mm,
So I
yeah.
thought, yeah, okay, maybe your pictures do look better, but do
Mm,
they really? Because
yeah,
people aren't comfortable
yeah,
physically,
yeah. And it's not. It's
visually not comfortable.
yeah, and it's not. It's eventually what you want to remember is what was being said,
Yeah.
and that you don't have to check out because you're busy. Trying to make sure that your makeup is still there, or trying to make sure that you don't faint because you're an old grandmother. Um, that sort of
Yeah,
stuff.
that you
So
are able to stay
yeah,
in the moment and
yeah,
not
yeah,
checking
yeah.
out.
Fully
Yeah.
enjoy. So those were two things that I thought, okay,
Mm.
check,
Yeah.
things to remember. But as I said before, it was a very, very, very enjoyable ceremony. It was a great crowd. Um, my next wedding to remember was a 100% English ceremony, and that was quite a contrast with the Brazilian Dutch wedding, which was like,
Yeah.
exuberant and cheerful. This was very formal wedding, and the good choice they made was their plan A was, we are going to do the ceremony inside,
Hmm.
which was a good plan because the ceremony was being held at a lovely place just next to a lake. It was also a very hot day. As I said, all my couples were very lucky with the weather.
Can you
Um,
give a great weather guarantee, Jasperien?
yeah, maybe I should start doing that.
Yeah.
So great weather, but the consequence of having a wedding outside would be next to a lake. It was windy, so that has a result on the sound, with during the ceremony, the speech that you hold, and it was very hot. And inside they could just be relaxed, which they were. It was not too hot. There was air conditioning. There was no issue with wind and
Yeah.
my papers blowing around. So that was just so comfortable. And the good thing is, I think you mentioned that in one of our earlier podcasts as well. Why don't you split things up, have the ceremony inside, and then go outside for drinks?
Yeah.
Which is what they did, which was
Yeah,
great.
because you can control the situation
Yeah.
when you're inside.
Yes, and outside, they were having a drink and enjoying, and everyone is talking to one another. It's a much more relaxed setting for something to be outside. It doesn't matter anymore, the wind blowing, and you can move when you stand in the sun. When you want to go and stand in the shade. So I thought that was an excellent choice.
And besides, the weather circumstances, or, the temperature,
Mm.
does it make any difference for you when you're conducting a ceremony for, the loose, festive Brazilian couple
Mhm.
or the more classical English couple?
Um,
Do you vary in your style, or?
Yes, of course, I do.
Hmm.
Yes, I completely adapt my style to their wishes. And the British couple wanted quite a formal wedding ceremony that would look,
Dearly beloved,
yeah,
or?
well, almost, yes.
Mhm.
They really wanted it to look like a British ceremony. And of course, I had to, comply with the Dutch rules and
Yeah.
the Dutch questions. But within that, I varied. I talked to the couple, and we made it into an English ceremony. And that was just not the case with the Dutch Brazilian. It was much more vibrant. I had two Dutch Brazilian weddings this summer. And I have to say, both Dutch Brazilian weddings were sort of the same style, but that all has to do with the people.
Yeah.
The vibe has to do with the people. So the second one it was at a windmill in the southern part of the Netherlands, and the fun thing there was it was outside as well. Weather was just a little bit worse. We had a few drops of rain, but it was a very contained setting, so no wind, and everyone was covered, so that was all right. Temperature was lovely, and the good thing, or the fun thing, was that the couple were sitting on a swing,
Oh, wow.
all decorated with flowers. I thought
Oh,
that was really nice.
I can picture it already. That must be a pretty sight.
Yes, it was very pretty, and whereas most couples tend to choose for, that we talked about that recently with Marta, the flowers, the pinks and the pastels,
Mm.
but they chose for orange and purple and red and yellow. So they were
Really
all.
popping colors.
Yes, because she
Yeah.
was from she's from Brazil, and the flowers they have are tropical flowers with beautiful colors, and that was reflected in during the whole day, actually, in the wedding invitation, in the flowers, in the presentation of the tables, of everything, and that was really really good fun. So do dare to be bold and follow your own ideas and your background. It doesn't all have to be pastel, and it can be different, which was lovely. Um, Two more weddings to remember. One, a spectacular arrival of another couple. It was also on one of the lakes in the Netherlands,
Hmm.
close to Amsterdam, and they arrived in a speedboat, which was really great. So all the guests were waiting outside.
Like Miami
Um,
Vice
Yeah,
vibe.
whoa, and they did make a speedy entrance. So there was lots of foam, whooshing up from the boat. It was really really nice. So that was a spectacular entry. It was also a wedding inside, which was great, because you didn't have to worry about the weather, and that day as well, outside it was windy, and then everyone can just sit inside, be happy. You don't have anything to worry about, which was really really nice. Um, and my last, really all the weddings were very different in that sense. And the last wedding, just before I went on holiday, was a Dutch Finnish wedding on the beautiful castle, the Hoge Vuursche,
Hmm.
which you know as well. And the lesson there was relax. When you have someone arranging your wedding and when you have a professional wedding team, we've said it before, just relax, because everything is going to turn out fine. That's the good thing. When you have professionals working for you, in the end, it will turn out fine. And it doesn't matter if things, you know, if there's a little ripple, the professionals will solve it. Like, for example, there was a huge, beautiful wedding bouquet. Actually, once again, I worked with Marta there, and there was a big, blow of the wind, and the vase fell over. So
Hmm.
no one noticed. It was prior to the wedding. The wedding cake was going to be presented there, but it wasn't. Fortunately, it wasn't standing there yet. So they just cleaned it up, and no one noticed. Everyone was outside having their little drink before the ceremony. Um, but it was perfect. It was really a perfect wedding, organized by a good wedding planner. I worked with Astrid in that occasion. We've spoken to her, and it was a very high quality wedding of a very demanding couple. And my really big tip is please relax when you have a team like that arranging your wedding. It's all going to be fine.
Yeah,
Bride
trust
was a
your
bit
wedding
stressed.
team.
The bride was a bit stressed. So and it takes away, I think, part of the joy. But in the end, it was fine. So that was
Yeah, maybe,
so far.
things go different than you've imagined or
Hmm.
planned them, but
Yeah, yeah,
sometimes the solution
yeah,
is yeah,
yeah. And they were just so happy, and you saw, especially the bride, relax as the ceremony went on.
yeah,
And in the end, after the kiss, it was all fine. It was
yeah. You
all
see them
fine.
lower their
Yeah,
shoulders,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So
yeah,
got a few nice weddings lined up, but this was my summer, and I'm always amazed that you always still pick out things that you think, oh, I have to remember this, or tell my future bridal couples about that they have to think about this, that, or the other, just to make sure that they don't oversee things, and that it's going to be the wedding they were longing for.
yeah, yeah. Beautiful.
So let's talk about you in the next episode, right?
Yeah, let's do that.
See you
Okay.
then.
So,
Bye.
bye.
Thanks for listening to How to Get Married in Holland.
We look forward to share more about organizing your wedding day in the Netherlands in the next episode.
Hit the subscribe button so you won't miss anything.
Any questions in the meantime?
Please ask Wedding Celebrants Daphne or Jasperien. You can find us, plus the show notes, on Instagram.
And if you love this podcast, please leave a review.
It gives us a higher ranking, so more fun international couples with Dutch wedding plans will be able to find us.
Until next time.